Good afternoon, students. Welcome to Tarun IS. Today we will discuss 5 important news articles and 1 editorial discussion. So first article of today is about 10 YouTube channels being banned by Government of India from and 45 videos from these 10 channels. Now these channels have been blocked with respect to the hate speech. With respect to hate speech. Now, key takeaways from this article is hate speech, the definition of hate speech. Now, what exactly is this hate speech? Hate speech is basically any verbal or non-verbal, written, spoken, sign, gestures, words which initiate or which are intimidating or which promote enmity among different communities, among different groups. Now, what are the legal provisions in India with respect to hate speech? The first, we will talk about Indian Penal Code, that is section 295, section 153 and section 505A. Now these 3 important sections deals with hate speech in India. Now another important legislation for hate speech in India is the Representation of Peoples Act 1951. Now this particular legislation is for the corrupt electoral practices. Okay. Corrupt electoral practices dealt in section 123 and section 8. Now these 2 sections specifically deal with corrupt electoral practices, that means asking for vote in the name of religion and caste. These are considered as corrupt electoral practice, and hence they are barred. They are barred from. They are barred under Representation of Peoples Act 1951. Now let's move on to the second article. The second article is about Prime Minister Modi leaving for former Prime Minister of Japan's funeral. Now the news about Prime Minister Modi leaving for Japan is not important. What is more important is Indo-Japan relation. In the current scenario, that is Ukraine-Russia war, the China hegemony. Now I'd like you to think about Indo-Japan relation on various fronts. The first is the cultural relation. The second is the historical relations that India has shared with Japan. The third is the political relation that India has. Fourth is the diplomatic relation, the economic relation that India has. All right. And the sixth one is the defense and security. All right. So these are the 6 fronts on which you have to analyze the India and Japan relations. What is the importance of Shinzo Abe here, the former Prime Minister of Japan, is how he reshaped Japan's foreign policy when it comes to India and when it comes to the world. Let's move on to third article now. So the third article of today is the impact of drug mafia on youth. They pose a grave situation, says SC, that is Supreme Court. And this has been taken from The Hindu. The important point here is the acknowledgement that the Supreme Court has given to the grave situation that drug poses to Indian youth and to the overall economic and social fabric of the India. So when it comes to drug particularly is not a problem. It is actually the drug abuse which becomes the problem. So according to a survey by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, there is approximately 70 million youth affected with drug addiction. 70 million youth affected with drug addiction. Right. And also according to one of the report by All India Institute of Medical Sciences, there is approximately 5 crore drug addicts who abuse opioids and cannabis. There is 8.5 lakh people who are involved in injecting drugs. So considering the gravity of the situation and hence the acknowledgement. So with respect to this, you have to think in line with the General Studies paper 1, that how it impacts the society. What are the consequences of drug abuse? If there is a drug abuse in the nation, you remember the Swami Vivekananda had talked about the importance of youth in our country and how it can lead to the economic and the overall progress and development in the nation. Therefore, drug abuse is a big menace for the society. Try to link it with your General Studies paper 1 and also try to link it with your General Studies paper 3, because economy is affected. If the youth is involved in drug abuse, the economic productivity will decline and we will not have enough skilled force to boost the economy. Therefore, you can try to link it with General Studies paper 1 and General Studies paper 3. Also, with respect to the Supreme Court, you link it with your General Studies paper 2, the structure, organization, functioning of the judiciary. Right? Now let's move on to the 4th article of today. It is live streaming online RTI portal. Now this news has been taken from The Hindu. Now this news has been taken from The Hindu. Now, what is this live streaming of the judicial proceedings? Now, live streaming is basically similar to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha streaming. So, there will be proceeding in the court and it will be live streamed for the public. Now, this will enhance the transparency. Try to link it with your General Studies paper 2, the transparency in governance, and link it with your General Studies paper 4, that is your ethics paper. Now let's talk about little about the live streaming of the judicial proceedings. Now the live streaming of judicial proceeding is not a new thing in the world. It's not even new in India. We see that during COVID-19 we had virtual courts. So first thing, it was started in the year 2015, and second thing, that in the year 2018 the Supreme Court specifically started focusing on live streaming of the proceedings. This was in the judgment given during the Swapnil Thakur versus Supreme Court of India in the year 2018. And recently in the year 2021, 21 and 22, the government of India came up with the guidelines with respect to live streaming. Now everything will not be live streamed. There will be certain cases which will not be live streams. For example, the cases which are sensitive cases like divorce cases, the family dispute, and the cases which are dealt under the Prevention of Sexual Abuse of Children, the POCSO Act of 2005. Now these are the certain acts and these are certain cases which will not be live streamed. So there is a very there is a guideline given by the government of India with respect to this. Now let's move on to the 4th article of today. It's about the grant of citizenship to Edward Snowden by Russia. Now you know that in the year 2013, the Edward Snowden had actually he had leaked the classified files in the USA, which brought into light the illegitimate surveillance that the US government had, and therefore after that the Edward Snowden had applied for the asylum in Russia, and now he has been granted citizenship. Now what is important here in this news is the relevance of effects and politics of developing countries on India's interest, that how this move by Russian government will affect India's interest. So first thing that you will note or you will take away from this article is the citizenship. Like what is the meaning of citizenship? How citizenship is granted in US and how it is granted in India, the difference between the two, and on what basis these two are granted. You can refer to Lakshmikant for this. And second thing that you will take away from here is that the relation between US and Russia and its effect on India, that how the tensed relationship between the two countries will affect India's interest, that how its interest with USA, the bilateral interest with USA, and how its bilateral interest with Russia will be affected. Now we will move on to one important editorial that I have taken. All right. Now this article has been taken from The Hindu. It's about the tourism in India, that how India can be developed as a tourist destination. We know that India has huge diversity. It has cultural diversity, it has religious diversity with respect to the language, with respect to the geography of the nation. Now India is due to its richness and diversity, it has a huge potential. Considering this fact and also the economy that we want to develop, that is the 5 trillion economy that we aim to develop, on this background, you see that there was a gathering of state tourism ministers in Dhauladhar range. Now important here is the Dhauladhar range from the geography perspective. You see Dhauladhar range, it is Himalayan range located in the lesser Himalayas, starting from north of Mandi and it ends near Badrinath in Uttarakhand, that is Dhauladhar range. So from geography perspective, you will try to focus here. And from GS paper 2, you see the government policies and its intervention in various sectors, and it is also important from the GS paper 3 perspective, the economy. Now let's talk a little about the Dharamshala declaration that was given out after this conference. What were the deliberations and what were the deliberations, the outcome of the deliberations? Now Dharamshala declaration has been developed by taking inspiration from the whole of government's approach of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it focuses on whole of government approach. It focuses on promoting the domestic industry and also the recovery. Why recovery? Because you know that post COVID-19 and during COVID-19, all the sectors which were human touch sensitive, like the hospitality sector, hotels, tourism and all, they were highly affected. They were severely affected. So therefore the focus is on the recovery. The Ministry of Tourism has also planned to develop and to encourage the domestic tourism, to promote the spirit of Ek Bharat and Shresth Bharat, and also to work in coherence with the Ministry of External Affairs to identify 20 Indian such missions and in order to develop the country specific strategies. And also we know that India will hold the G20 presidents from December 2022 to November 2023. So in here also under India's presidency, The main focus will also be in developing the tourism and elevating the India's status as a major tourist destination. There are some interventions that the government of India has taken, that is visa reforms, the easy travel. For example, e-visa is there, visa on arrival is there. The facilities will also be developed. Now, what are the goals that Indian government wants to achieve with respect to tourism industry? The first goal is that the contribution to GDP, 150 billion US dollar contribution to GDP, 150 million jobs will be generated from tourism industry, $56 billion of foreign exchange, and 25 million foreign tourist arrival in the country. What are the steps that the government of India has taken with respect to this? Three important points actually needs to be focused upon. The first point is the emergency credit line guarantee scheme. It has been enhanced from 4.5 lakh to 5 lakh crore. The draft national tourism policy of 2022. Now, any policy which is with respect to tourism industry will try to improve, support, strengthen and develop tourism sector and its supporting industry and its subsectors. What does a tourism industry needs? It will require destination, which India already has. The destinations, the logistics, transport, communication, basic facilities like food counters and etc. etc. Basic facilities will be developed, and the skilled workforce. Inclusive tourism in line with our civilizational ethos will be the guiding principle for the national draft tourism policy, and it also aims to give impetus to the national digital tourism mission in alignment with the Skill India mission, and special impetus would also be given to the private public partnership. You remember that in the budget 2022 to 23, Finance Minister has launched the Bharat Gaurav scheme. Now, what is this Bharat Gaurav scheme? The private players will be plying railway on tourist sites. Now, this is a dedicated railway line will be there for tourist destinations by private players. Now, this is Bharat Gaurav. And the green tourism mission. Now, what is this green tourism mission? You can try to relate it with the ecotourism. Right, India has wildlife diversity, India has ecological diversity. So, considering these diversities, destinations and different sites will be renewed, will be strengthened, will be supported so as to boost the India's economy and the overall prosperity of the nation. So, that was it today. Thank you so much.